Hey folks, I'm Caleb Foshi with the Dust Bowl Catholic, and this is my Catholic dollar. Well, my goodness, folks, we are almost there. We are on Mansion 6 out of 7 as we follow along with St. Teresa's interior castle and the 7 mansions. So let's take a quick look at what the 6th mansion means. Here we go. This is the final mansion before a full union with God, but afflictions and dangers abound, because as anybody knows who's studied the saints, as you get closer to God, the more you are attacked by the evil side. On the My Catholic Dollar, it says, don't get complacent. College expenses and mortgages can derail the future. So that's really what we're looking at here. College savings and paying off your mortgage. Now, we've gone so far in this journey. You know, we have our budget, we paid off everything but the house, we have a big, good emergency fund, we're saving for retirement, and now these last 2 hurdles are there that can potentially derail us as we move forward. So, with any big item, we have to have a plan. Let's see what the Bible says about planning. A man's mind plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. This is so key. We can plan all we can, but it's really God that's in control. And that's why we've come through all of these things, because we're trying to make sure that we're doing the best we can to follow God's will, to be the best Catholics we can, and to really put ourselves in a place where we only rely on Him. College savings, okay? Now, we save this until after retirement because there's one simple rule in life. There's no loans for retirement, right? So now, we don't want our kids to have to use loans for college at all. In fact, you know, our kids, we plan to have them work. Whatever we can't help them with, they will work and pay for it on their own, because something that you have skin in means that you're going to work that much harder. You know, I knew too many people when I went to school whose parents were paying for it, and I know too many people now whose parents helped them pay for their college, and it took them forever. And they are so far in debt, it's not even funny, because they had no skin in the game. They didn't have to pay for it at all. So, now, our main goal in life is to get our kids to heaven. Obviously, that is the key to being Catholic. But we have to make sure that our kids can deal with the secular world while they're here. And even more than that, they need to be able to provide for the families they have going forward. So let's see a couple of verses that talk about that. Here we go. All right, back in Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. The second verse also comes from the book of Proverbs, chapter 15, verse 14. It says, the discerning heart seeks knowledge, but the mouth of a fool feeds on folly. So, you know, this is the craziness that we've got to stay away from, okay? In 2 verses there, it said that learning was basically a virtue. Maybe not a theological virtue, but a virtue to want to continually better oneself. And that only people who do not want to learn, they're fools. They're called fools twice there. So we need to make sure that our kids, that we impart in them, you know, that work ethic, that they're going to work hard, but that they constantly need to be learning and improving themselves as they go through life. That's what makes them successful. All right. So let's talk about the vehicles for college savings, okay? There are mainly 3, and we'll look at them right here. So the 3 college savings vehicles are 529 plans, UGMAs, which is Uniform Gift to Minors Act, and then an ESA, which is an Education Savings Account, okay? And as you can see here from this page, 529s are very restrictive. Each state has its own, and depending on the state, you may only be able to use certain brokers, And with certain brokers, you can only pick certain funds, which are very high in fees and may not even have the type of funds that we want. So they're too restrictive. We don't want those. UGMAs are extremely liberal. Any broker online that you can find will have a UGMA account. You're basically setting up an account for your child, and you are the custodian until they come of age. You can choose from pretty much any fund you want to put in there. Primarily index funds is what we're looking at for kind of like the retirement ones. But the problem is, once the child reaches the age of majority, the money becomes theirs and they can use it for anything, okay? Including bright, shiny cars instead of diplomas. So that's really not the way we want to go. The Goldilocks of the three is the education savings account, the ESA. Now there are some income restrictions, but they're pretty high. I would Google it if you have any questions, but I mean, we're talking over $200,000 a year usually for a married couple. So the thing with the ESA is they're offered by just about any brokerage, Fidelity or E-Trade or whatever. The restriction is you can only invest $2,000 a year per student, okay? But because they're at all the different brokerages, you can get all the different funds, including index funds, which are low in fees, and they're just the way to go. You know, it will track certain funds and just like a retirement fund, okay? And once it gets time to go to college, you can only make withdrawals for qualified education expenses, all right? If you try to do it for non-qualified education expenses, you incur a penalty and it becomes taxable. Good. Grab you an education savings account, especially starting early, $2,000 a year. That shouldn't be an issue for anybody. If you start even if you start when your child is, only is 10 already, okay, and you have 8 years, you can pop in $2,000 a year. That's $16,000, assuming there's no growth in there. $16,000 a year is a good chunk, and for a regional state school, you're going to be able to get through 1, if not 2 years of tuition there. At least in Oklahoma, you can do that. So let's switch gears a little and go to the mortgage, okay? Some folks, your kids are already out of the house. You don't have to worry about college. It's time to attack the mortgage, and you've got to attack it with a vengeance. All right, but let's look at a couple of Bible verses about homes and how they are treated. Here we go. Back in the book of Proverbs, chapter 24 this time, it says, "Put your outdoor work in order and get your fields ready. After that, build your house." Okay, so this is pretty much what we've done already. The previous steps have gotten us to this point. It's our outdoor work. We've got our budget. We paid everything else off but the house. We've got our retirement set up. We've got our emergency fund set up. And now it's time to build the house or pay off the house as we go forward. All right, let's look at the next one. This time in Isaiah, "My people will live in peaceful dwelling places, in secure homes, in undisturbed places of rest." So, if you had a paid off house, how peaceful and undisturbed would that place be? I mean, that's my goal. As soon as we get our kids through college and things like that, it's something I really want to do. I hope you do too, to not have to worry about anything like that, and to think that you owe nobody anything at all at that point. It's just a great idea. So let's talk about some of the basics on buying a house, okay? Just for those folks that haven't bought it yet, so that they're not in a situation where they're house poor, which I've been there before. It's not fun. So let's look. For housing, I hate to do this, but Dave Ramsey is right. And I can't really think of anything better, but principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. The pity should not exceed 25% of your take-home pay every month, okay? This is key. It's going to keep you from being house poor, because if you have too much house and too much money going to that, you can never service your debt to get it paid off. You have trouble saving for retirement, and you have trouble living. That's not what we want. You should never take a mortgage that's longer than 15 years. The 15-year is kind of a magical thing in that you never pay more interest than you do principal. So if you make a $1,000 payment on your mortgage, at least 500 of it is going to go to the principal and the amount you owe on that house. Whereas with a 30-year, it's more like $350 out of that $1,000 goes towards how much you owe. And a 20% plus down payment is preferred. Now, I realize that's really hard to do, but it takes away the private mortgage insurance when you do this. And well, private mortgage insurance, you're basically buying and paying for an insurance policy for the bank that gives you the loan, so that if you default, they get their money back. So we don't want to buy things for banks as we go forward. And again, you have to attack it with a vengeance once you get here. You know, if anybody who's listened or read Dave Ramsey's stuff, you know, he's got some pretty good statistics that says once people get to this point, if they stay motivated, their house gets paid off in 7 to 8 years afterwards. So please, please, if you've gotten this far, just keep going and make it happen. That's really, you know, the accomplishment of this and the life that you'll be able to live after all of this is so worth all of the headaches and struggles and you know, hard times, as we say. But it's really not hard times. Come on, it's I got to make my own coffee instead of going and buying it somewhere else. You know, you can live and live well, but you don't have to live extravagantly and do something truly amazing that so few people get done. And then there's no telling how you can live, or how many people you can help, or how much you can do for your church as you go forward. Let's look at this week's homework. We are still going to prayer and calling upon St. Teresa. She is our patron in this process. She will help us get there. We are still communicating, staying on the same page with your spouse, especially as you get to the later stages and you start to feel a little frustrated and you're ready to just break loose of all this. Help each other move forward. Third, you're going to plan your college and mortgage journey. Planning is the key, just like the very first verse that we talked about today. I'm Caleb Foshi with the Dust Bowl Catholics My Catholic Dollar. Remember to subscribe. First of all, subscribe, like, share, and comment below. Tell me how your journey is going. I'd love to hear it. We'll see you next week, and until that time, be not afraid.